Imagine building a house for 60 years, but never being allowed to live in it. That's Portugal's relationship with the FIFA World Cup. And right now, in what could be the last dance for the greatest player this nation has ever produced, Portugal walks into this tournament carrying the weight of an entire football culture on its shoulders. But here's what nobody's really talking about. This squad right now might be the most complete Portugal team ever assembled, and yet, it might still not be enough. Let me explain why. There's a term in economics called a boom-bust cycle. Periods of explosive growth followed by long stretches of painful stagnation. Portugal's World Cup history reads exactly like that textbook. Think about this for a second. The very first FIFA World Cup was played in 1930. Portugal, one of Europe's footballing nations, didn't make a serious mark on the World Cup stage until 1966. That's 36 years of irrelevance on the biggest stage in the sport. And when they finally showed up, oh, they showed up. The Black Panther dragged Portugal to a third-place finish almost single-handedly. 9 goals in one tournament. The man was operating on a different frequency than every other player on that pitch. He was so far ahead of his time that people who watched him play still struggle to find the right words. But here's the cruel twist. After that 1966 fairy tale, Portugal vanished again, gone, for 20 years. They didn't qualify for another World Cup. 20 years. A generation of Portuguese children grew up never watching their country compete at the sport's biggest festival. When they returned in 1986, it was a brief cameo, then silence again until 2002. This is the pattern that defines Portuguese football: flashes of absolute brilliance, separated by long, frustrating winters. And every single time they've risen, there's been one man, one generational talent pulling them out of the darkness. In medicine, there's a condition called single point of failure. It's when an entire system depends on one component working perfectly. If that one thing breaks down, everything collapses. Portugal has been running that system for 60 years. Was the engine in 66. Without him, Portugal don't reach the semis. Without him, that comeback against North Korea where they were 3 goals down in under 25 minutes doesn't happen. He scored 4 goals in that quarter-final alone, turning what looked like one of football's greatest upsets into a Portuguese triumph. Then came Figo, Ballon d'Or winner in 2000. The man who made Portugal relevant again at the turn of the millennium. His presence alone, that swagger, that technical brilliance, attracted better players around him and forced the world to take Portugal seriously again. Figo carried them to the 2002 World Cup and then into a stunning 2006 campaign where they reached the semi-finals. They lost narrowly to an iconic French team. That match where Zidane and Figo exchanged jerseys at the final whistle felt like a passing of the torch between two legends from the same footballing galaxy. And now? Now we have Cristiano Ronaldo, the greatest goalscorer the game has ever seen, a man who has rewritten every record book he's ever touched, and this World Cup in all likelihood is his last. The question isn't whether Ronaldo is great. We know he's great. The question is whether a 41-year-old version of greatness is enough to win a World Cup. When I look at this Portugal squad position by position, I see something I haven't seen before. In goal, Diogo Costa is your starter and he's earned it. Commanding, composed. Exactly what a tournament goalkeeper needs to be. At fullback, and this is where I get genuinely excited, Portugal might have the best fullback pairing coming into this World Cup. Nuno Mendes on the left is a complete defender. He can defend one-on-one, he pushes forward intelligently, he creates overloads in attack. The only knock on him is that he can fade slightly in the final 20 minutes of intense games. But outside of that, there's almost no weakness in his game. On the other side, João Cancelo gives you something rare. A fullback who is equally comfortable on the left or the right, who reads the game like a midfielder and creates chances that most defenders can't even picture. His Barcelona loan spell reminded the world exactly how good he is. In midfield, this is Portugal's superpower. João Neves is arguably the best ball winner in world football right now, seriously underrated. He doesn't get the headlines because he's surrounded by more flamboyant talent, but watch him closely and you'll see a player who controls the tempo of a game like a conductor directing an orchestra. Vitinha, technically gifted, intelligent, always available, is the kind of midfielder who makes every player around him better. And then there's Bruno Fernandes, PFA Player of the Year this season. A man who can unlock any defense with a single pass and who works harder off the ball than people give him credit for. This midfield trio is not just good. This midfield trio is potentially elite in attack, and this is where the conversation gets complicated. Portugal have options, but also questions. Rafael Leao gives you pace, directness, and that electric 1-versus-1 ability that defenders genuinely fear. Pedro Neto is the engine on the other side, tireless, technically sharp, and crucially, willing to do the defensive work that the more creative players won't. Ju is the wild card. On his best day, he's unplayable. As a false 9 dropping into pockets, linking play, he could be the perfect fit for this team's style. And Gonzalo Ramos, who scored a hat-trick against Switzerland in the last World Cup, brings proven tournament experience. But his club form has been inconsistent, and that's a concern. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Cristiano Ronaldo at 41 is not Cristiano Ronaldo at 31. That's not a criticism. That's just physics. The explosive pace gone. The aerial dominance is still there, but his ability to bully center-backs across 90 minutes has diminished. His positioning and football intelligence remain world-class. His leadership presence in the dressing room is unquestioned. But this Portugal squad is built around a midfield that loves to keep the ball, play through the lines, and create overloads in tight spaces. That style demands a striker who moves constantly, who pulls defenders out of position, who drops deep and links play, who presses from the front. Is Ronaldo that striker anymore? The honest answer is, probably not at the level needed to win a World Cup. And this creates a genuine tactical dilemma for Roberto. If you start Ronaldo and he's off the pace, you're asking your brilliant midfield to carry dead weight up front. If you drop Ronaldo, one of the most decorated athletes in human history, you risk tearing the emotional fabric of the squad apart. This is not a football decision anymore. It's a psychological one. Roberto has built his reputation as a pragmatic manager, someone who adapts his system to his personnel rather than forcing square pegs into round holes. But this squad presents him with a unique headache. Portugal's most exciting players, Leao, Vitinha, Bruno, Neves, all want the ball. All want to be involved, all thrive in possession-based, fluid systems. But fluid systems require defensive discipline, and here's where Portugal's vulnerabilities appear. When Leao plays wide left, he doesn't track back consistently. That creates space behind Nuno Mendes, who, for all his brilliance, can't cover the entire left flank alone. On the right, if Cancelo plays, his defensive positioning can occasionally be exposed by a direct, pacey winger. And in central defense, this is the quiet worry that nobody's loudly discussing. Portugal essentially have two reliable center-backs. Diaz is world-class, Gonzalo is excellent. But if Diaz picks up an injury, the defensive structure becomes fragile very quickly. Renato Veiga and offer versatility across the back line, but versatility is not the same as quality. If you need them to step in for Diaz in a quarter-final, that's a significant drop in the defensive ceiling. Needs to answer one crucial question before this tournament begins. Does he build this team around Ronaldo? Or does he build this team to win and manage the Ronaldo situation around that? Two different answers lead to two completely different tournament paths. Portugal's group is manageable: Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. On paper, this is a group they should top. Colombia is the most credible threat, with technical players and tactical organization, but Portugal's quality in midfield should see them through comfortably. The real test begins in the knockout rounds, because here's what history keeps telling us about Portugal. They have the talent to beat anyone on a given day. They have the midfield to control games against the world's best. They have the squad depth to rotate and maintain quality throughout a tournament. What they've never had, at least not on the World Cup stage, is the perfect storm of a peak squad, a great manager, and the collective belief that this is their time. For the first time in history, two of those three boxes are ticked. The third one, that's entirely up to them to write. Football has a way of breaking your heart and healing it in the same moment. Portugal 1966, a tiny nation producing a player who made the whole world stop and stare. Portugal 2006, a generation of brilliance falling one match short. Portugal now, a squad that has arguably never been deeper, never been more talented, standing at the edge of something potentially historic. Ronaldo might not be the player he was, but he's still Cristiano Ronaldo. And on nights when the stadium is full and the stakes are everything, Cristiano Ronaldo has a habit of making the impossible feel ordinary. Can Portugal win this World Cup? Yes, genuinely, yes, if everything falls into place. Will they? That's the question that will keep every Portuguese football fan awake between now and the final whistle of this tournament. Balance, that's the word. Not just tactical balance on the pitch, but the balance between legacy and ambition, between past and future, between one icon's farewell and a generation's arrival. Get that balance right, and Portugal don't just compete, they win. Drop your prediction in the comments. How far do Portugal go? And can Ronaldo finally get his hands on the one trophy that's escaped him his entire career?